We are just a month away from the start of spring training. Pitchers and catchers report on February 14th, and February 26th will mark the Yankees' first game of the spring. We'll have 14 spring training games on, yes, and the regular season then gets underway March 31st, opening day in the Bronx against Detroit. Great to have you back once again on Yankees Hot Stove. Let's talk about some of the news of the week and the announcement that reliever Trevor Hoffman, the all-time saves leader, decided to hang him up and retire. And as we kind of put a bow on his career, Jack, he is one of the guys, a reliever, kicked around as, is he a Hall of Famer? Do the numbers add up? What do you think?
Well, we're looking at those numbers right now. 601 saves. Mariano Rivera will probably pass him for all time, but that's a stunning number. What I look at, Bob, too, is finishing second in the Cy Young Award voting twice. That's very hard for a closer to even get any votes. The one thing that I think is going to hurt Hoffman is when you look at his career in big game situations, postseason, and even trying to get the Padres into the postseason, he has a couple of hiccups, and I think that will work against him. I have a Hall of Fame vote. He's going to get my vote in the first year, but I think there are some voters, including maybe this guy sitting next to me, who don't agree with that.
You're absolutely right, Jack. I don't agree. I'm going to obviously vote for Hoffman for the Hall of Fame eventually. He's not going to get my ballot on the first time around. I just think that that honor should go to Mariano. Mariano should be the first reliever to ever get in on the first try because he is the standard upon which everyone else is going to be judged. There is no other Mariano. I will say this about Hoffman, though. I'm hugely impressed that he's gone through his entire career getting by on a changeup. He's been tricking hitters throughout his entire career. Not with a blow-away pitch, not with a great fastball or a cutter. A changeup in the ninth inning. It's almost impossible to do, and he's done it.
Even though I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote, Bob, I actually think that a larger segment of the writers are going to agree with Bob, and they're going to say, if we're going to put a guy in as a closer first time, it should be Rivera, who's probably a couple years behind Hoffman. And I don't think he'll get in the first ballot, but I think he'll get in eventually.
All right, let's talk about some of the other news that's out there, and one name that's been bandied about in terms of a DH, a veteran guy, Jim Thome. Bob, any chance that he goes back to the Twins? Are other teams looking at him? What do you think might happen with Jim Thome?
I think he's likely to go back to the Twins. I know the Rangers have been mentioned as being interested in him, but I mean, they already have a DH in Michael Young. Unless they want to set up some sort of lefty-righty platoon, it would be very formidable if that was the case. But I think Thome will get the most number of at-bats in Minnesota. He's attached that team. Ultimately, I think that's where he's going.
I think he'll end up with the Twins as well. I think the Rangers have reviewed him and have taken a look at him. But Bob is right. I mean, they already have Michael Young. Unless they were going to try and bounce Young around and play him and give other guys a day off each week, where is Thome going to get a lot of at-bats? Now, he didn't get a lot of at-bats with the Twins last year. They were very productive at-bats. I think the reason he hasn't signed with the Twins yet is because he was a bargain last year at $1.5 million. I think he realizes, hey, I finished 18th in the MVP voting. I need to be paid a little better than I was last year. Also knocking on the door of 600 home runs, only needs 11 more.
All right, now one guy who did sign this week, and that was Kyle Farnsworth. He signed with the Tampa Bay Rays. You know, they're looking for guys that are reasonably priced that might be able to have an impact because, Bob, as we know, they lost a lot of guys out of that bullpen.
They did, but you know what? They're going to have their hearts broken by Farnsworth, as we have learned in New York. Farnsworth should have just made it possible for him to stay in the National League. He was terrific with the Braves, had some nice numbers, seemed to have been rebuilding his career. But, you know, coming back to the American League, I don't know. He's going to break some hearts.
All right, let's get on to a name that has been talked about a lot on the show in recent weeks. And this is a question from Alex in Owing Mills, Maryland, about the saves leader for 2010, Rafael Soriano. And he asks, why is it that, Jack, he's basically still on the market?
Well, he was asking for a lot of money. I mean, Scott Boras is his agent, and the terms that have been floated out there, and we see the numbers on Soriano last year. The other numbers that are attached to him in this offseason are 3 years at $15 million. They have been asking for Mariano Rivera-like money, and teams are just not going to go there. The other thing, of course, is that since he's a Type A free agent, he's going to cost the team its first-round draft pick. And a lot of teams don't want to go there. Brian Cashman has already said that. And when you add up the draft pick and the fact that this guy wants a lot of money to be in that closer's role, teams have just shied away.
I will say this. What surprises me is we always know Scott Boras clients. There's always one or two at the end of the game that haven't signed with the team. Soriano not signing yet surprises me. I didn't put him in that category.
Well, Jack just nailed it. I mean, for $15 million a year, nobody's going to sign him. He's going to have to take less money than that. If he's willing to come down and if he's willing to pitch in the 8th inning, I think the Yankees might be interested. I know they go back and forth on this. Brian Cashman is really loath to the idea of giving up a draft pick, but the Yankees do need to replace Kerry Wood. It's a huge, huge void right now. Soriano might be that guy, might.
The Yankees have been very intrigued by that idea. Clapp is right. They've talked about Soriano being their 8th inning guy. They just hate the idea of losing the draft pick. And as I said, they even think that $12 million a year for this guy would be too much. So you're right, though, Bob. It is interesting that a guy of this talent, 45 saves last year, hasn't been able to find himself a job.
All right, let's talk about a guy who did get a job this week. That's the veteran pitcher Brad Penny, signs with the Tigers. Tigers have made some nice changes this offseason, been pretty busy, and this is a way to kind of wrap up things for their rotation, Bob.
Well, also, Penny does intrigue me. He's going to be pitching in a big ballpark, so he can't give up home runs there. But, again, last time he pitched in the American League with the Red Sox, his ERA was over 5. I think he would have been better off staying in the National League. He did very well with the Cardinals. Questionable move on his part.
All right, final question. We'll kind of bring this back full circle to the DH situation for a veteran. And we talked about the Rangers. That's where Vladimir Guerrero played last year. And Fiona Thomas asks this, where will Vlad end up? He had such a good year DHing last year.
I think he may have overplayed his hand, Bob. Because he had that good season with the Rangers, he headed into the offseason wanting to get a multi-year deal, and I think that was a mistake because as the offseason wore on, the Rangers realized they had other options, other opportunities. We now know that they signed Beltre. They moved Young to the DH spot. Frankly, I'm not sure where Vlad Guerrero goes. He's been attached to the Orioles. Some people have mentioned the Orioles as a possible landing spot. We've even seen the Angels, but the Angels already have a couple of DH types in Abreu and Juan Rivera, and they're a team that said no to him before last season. So Vladimir Guerrero is one of those guys out there right now who has good numbers from last season, but has a sign around his neck that says looking for a job.